One of the reasons that weakens us in our issues of regress is that most claims that are made by our people are made in the black codes. They either call themselves blacks, Negroes, colors, etc. It has no real power at law. They'll go through emotions with you because that's not a human being. It doesn't exist. There's no constitution that backs such people. It's a fiction. That's a fiction made up by the European nations to distinguish, like say for instance, like if you have two people standing here, say they're from Misraim, we call Egypt. So you got, say, a brother and sister here, both Misraim, and so this brother, sister, she still honors her mother and father. She's a Misraim or Egyptian, right? There's a constitution that backs her up, recognized by the rest of the civilized world, and therefore automatically comes into both national and international law and protections. This brother over here, he's Misraim, but he comes dealing with us, he associates with us, so in order to win our favor, he starts calling himself black again, himself black too, because he's relating to our bloodline, you understand, not understanding that that's not relative, because he thinks that black is relative to a pedigree.
Where is give me 1 second, guys. That's the problem. So the way to keep this thing going is to divide the man and the woman from the child. That's why when you go to family court and places like that, because you're under the 13th Amendment, the child has a lawyer, the mother has a lawyer, the father has a lawyer. You see what I'm saying? That is a violation of the Constitution, where it says that each person has the right to be secure in their home. Your home is your family, right? So that again, yes, thank you, more Article 4. So there again, this is all proving how they keep going into this RICO situation. Right? By excluding us from it. So look. Police brutality bonds in 12 cities and counties. Look, Bethlehem, PA, right? That's Pennsylvania. That's thing, because this Bethlehem, Pennsylvania, that's the real Bethlehem. Not the thing over there. The thing over there is named after this one. This is ancient Bethlehem over here. Look, 739 million. Canton, Ohio, 1.8 million. Chicago, 709.3 million. This is what they bonded and think. Why do you think so many black people are showing up dead out there? Because that gives Wall Street confidence that the white supremacist model is still in effect, which then gives the international investors that are investing in the white supremacist murder of original people and then the distribution of their bodies and souls and whatever else, then get to add more investments into it. Understand? Yes, because these are also the areas that they want to perpetually redevelop and move those people out, because they have to constantly move the bond because somebody is always buying the bonds of those people in those areas. So they have to naturally get the people to be in the areas where the bond is held. So if we know that this whole community's bonds is being bought up because they all being targeted and marketed and rioted and stuff by the police, then that means that we projected we're going to make this much back and we're going to have to pay this much out. So that means we have to get this much back from the state. See what I'm saying? That then gets that money from where? From Wall Street. How does the state get the numbers? How does the state get paid out of the situation? Well, How did they do that? Right? Well, how did they find out? Well, how did they get paid out of it, I should say? Do this. How do they get paid out? They get paid out through this. See? So when they talk about the system or the school to prison pipeline, right? The system, right? This is it. This is how it works. This is why your birth certificate is so important to them. And the social security number is so important to them because that's your listing in the fraud as the asset that they've charged all the liability for. Look, going to the state of Alabama. But look, the state of Alabama is actually incorporated in Alaska. Alaska is incorporated in Arizona. Arizona is incorporated in Arkansas. Arkansas is incorporated in California. You see how it works? I'm showing you. See? Or what that say? City, 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 city of, right? City. That's not the state. That's not the people. Do you understand what I just showed you? You see? Every place is incorporated in another state. So when you start going at one dude and one officer, you got to understand that bond, if it's in Chicago, right, that you're going for that 709.3 million, you got to go, you can't do it in Chicago. You got to put Chicago on notice and then take it to, see how they freak it? Look, state of Illinois, city of Chicago. You see what I'm telling you? This is inherently evil. This is how they were able to maintain the control. Right? New York joint is in North Carolina. Wildin'. Look, Rhode Island is in South Carolina. Here go the DUNS number for United Nations and all of that. So you're not even dealing with countries. So when these people talking about the United States of America as a country, what are they talking about? This is a get-rich-quick scheme for the castrato Mamelukes and disgruntled blacks and everybody else that came over here and took over our country and turned it into a business for the other countries. So this, again, and then they're not reporting half of this to the IRS. This is why you have the right to take control of the entity and turn it into a trust. When you authenticate the certificate, I don't know what these people are talking about, but what you're authenticating is the notary signature. It has nothing to do with even a certificate because the notary represents the officer of the state that the bond that this certificate is attached to, and that is endorsed then by the so-called Federal Reserve. The other two recently was connected to the IMF, and that went all the way back to the United Nations. So when the states needed to get their bonds fulfilled for all of the murders that they commit against the black males and black females and black children, they are also still heirs on the private side. So on the public side, they tax them out and lowball them, but then they are acting as these people's beneficiaries on the private because the people's families don't even know that this exists. How is that a conspiracy if I'm showing you that this is exactly how it works? I'm not making this up. I didn't make these numbers up. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is what they do. This is how they make their money. Look, what is look, hard evidence of the corporate takeover. This is what it is. What it is. They bugging. Dun and Bradstreet codes are assigned to corporations in America. You see that? Not in the United States. That's doing business in America. We're the Americans. So they're doing business on our lands to track our credit ratings because based on our collective credit as the original inhabitants, their rating is at the top because they've assumed us as wards and minors. So they have to do business on our behalf on both the public and the private side. Below you will find the DUNS numbers for the aggregate U.S. government and each of its major agencies. Those aggregate governments are each U.S. state along with that of its largest city, and those are aggregate United Nations and some of its agencies. These corporate code numbers can be verified by using the following link. Here go the link. Look it for yourself. Checking the code numbers for the governments, you will find that they have many subsidiaries and shall have corporations that lessen financial accountability. You see? So when people get shot by the police and all of that, you got to start involving the United Nations. You got to list them in the suits now because you have implicit evidence that they are the ones paying the bonds for all of these murders. Islam? This is why you establish an assumed name or a fictitious name of both the old name on the certificate and the new corrected name with that, while the authorized representative is then the holder who is grammatically correct in his or her proper person. Because you, as the principal, have to repair the injury that was done to the estate, to the trust, to the U.S. citizen that now has to be disregarded as such, and now to them it has to become a disregarded entity. You got to fire them for gross negligence and being belligerent trustees, because that's what they are. They are profiting on your death and charging you tax on it. What that got to do with being black, other than the fact that when you're melanated and you're born here, that certificate has been tied to the ancient trust that goes all the way back to the original American Republic that was founded by Hano Bay in 322 BC at Casacamacumet Bay, what they now call Massachusetts Bay, with the Bornstone that is a legal landmark according to Deuteronomy that says should never be run. So because the Bible was accepted as public law by the same United States government, they are violating not only the statute and whatever law, they are violating the same biblical law that they have now put themselves under. Look how many, exactly. Look how many outs we got. Look how many ways we got them. But no, these Moors want to talk about whether or not you're an Indian or whether or not you're from Africa, whether or not black people kill more, black people kill each other more than anybody else, and kill white people more. All this trivial nonsense, all orchestrated by the same people I'm telling you about. Keep you from just talking about stuff like this. This is what I'm talking about, the money. Is everybody clear on this? So that means every time the police stop you and every time they do that, they're forcing you to do business and hoping to get into a situation where they get to body you so that way they can get money. Because this is what pays for the police pension. That's why they make it seem like killing cops is the worst thing in the world. There's nothing worse than that because they are the ones that's out here killing. They turned it into what it always was, a bureau of interlopers and foreigners who have turned the country into a battleground and keep it unstable.